manna, Mike. I'm not sure what you own, but this here is on the mark. Like a spiral from a 5-star recruit, we throwing darts, really focused. WD-40 couldn't stop the way we grinded. In the trenches, putting that work in, I relate to all my linemen. This is for the men, the boys do not belong here. Tiptoeing to the top, we doing cone drills. The hottest show in the world, you don't even gotta search. Steady putting in work, you see the sweat up on my shirt. They wasn't aware of us at first, we wasn't on their radar. Now every play that we make, they gon' say, oh, similar to a razor blade, we gon' stay sharp. The news ain't official if it's not on the mark.
What it do is Wednesday back, the On Your Mark Show, powered and sponsored by Epic Sports Apparel. Every player compete, live from the Fishbowl Radio Network every Wednesday, man. Listen, it's about that time of year. It's Christmas in August, you know what I'm saying? We can feel the heat. The pressure is on. The gridiron is about to get live. It's already live. It's football season. And you know what that means. It's grind and shine time. Got some family in the house today. My guy Kenny Matthews from FridayNightGlory.com. Here to talk about the upcoming season, some matchups that we'll be looking at, and just overall high school football is back in the state of Texas. Of course, powered and sponsored by Epic Sports Apparel. Every player I compete, the On Your Mark Show. Man, my guy, Kenny, this is a busy guy. You know what I'm saying? We were just talking about, before we came on off camera, how busy it is. He asked me, do I stop? This guy doesn't stop either. You know what I'm saying? You know, you have to ask the missus about him too. You know what I'm saying? Kenny Matthews, FridayNightGlory.com, man. What's up? How you doing, bro?
Man, it's a pleasure to be on, man. It's been a minute, man.
Absolutely.
But you know what? I love what you've been doing here, man. You're getting this thing rolling, man. And then on a weekly entertainment value, man, it's a must-watch, man. And so anytime I can be here, man, it's good always, like you said, to be with fam. You know,
already.
Yeah. We may be Oklahoma and Texas, but we know what we
you know I didn't leave home without it. I figured I would put that on blast right now. You know, and a shout out to my guy Brian Goss. Anytime I see them too, I try to have some socks on or something. You know, just to let them kind of know what side of the Red River I'm on. You know what I'm saying? But listen, man, this is my guy. You know, we probably have conversations till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I know his wife and my wife wonder, who are you texting? I'm texting Kenny. You know what I'm saying? We're talking about something. Well, what? It's Kenny. You know what I'm saying?
we get some latitude.
Yeah,
with that, don't we?
absolutely.
Thank God we don't have jealous wives.
No, not at all. You know, listen, man. Shout out to my wife, man. You know what I'm saying? She had a birthday recently. Shout out to her as well.
Happy
you know,
birthday.
I couldn't do that. Do everything that I do without her. But you know, for the listeners who haven't met you before, kind of tell us a little bit about what you do and how you got started. FridayNightGlory.com.
Well, gosh, you know, I was just thinking about this kind of on the drive over here, you know, going into the 14th year now with FridayNightGlory.com, which,
wow,
man, it's just, it's crazy to me to think about because we had that meeting some 13 years ago 14 years ago in May,
right?
You know, talking about this company and what we wanted to do and when we really wanted to kind of give an opportunity for high school students to kind of intern, to kind of get into the media side of things. You know, it kind of blossomed there for a while with that, and we had some really good interns. I mean, heck, you came through that program.
Absolutely.
You know, Nick Harris, you know, who's working for the Cowboys
Absolutely.
now, came through that program. Matt Davison, who you work with, you know, was also in.
Absolutely.
You know, it's been nice to kind of, you know, Peyton Peterson working for Live Golf Tour now.
Man.
I mean, you know, it's had its tentacles, you know,
right.
to say the least. It's kind of branched out, and you love seeing those young pups grow, though. I think that's been the biggest thing. You know, Adam's got his deal that you
Absolutely.
see him on the side, you know,
Absolutely.
doing things. And you know, when the one thing I can correlate all that to, Mark, and I think you kind of understand this more, you surround yourself with good people, you can put out good work.
Absolutely.
And people that are passionate about what they want to do.
Right.
You and I both know that you didn't get into this side of the business to make a whole lot of money.
Right.
You're going to, you know, if you put in your hours and your manpower into it, and if you equate what your hourly wage is, it's loss at most times.
Absolutely.
You know, it is. But the thriving theme of all that, I feel like, is that we're giving in
right.
this sport, and when you give, that garners respect.
Right.
And I think that's one of the things that I really like most about this is that we're giving opportunities for young cats to come through this program and branch off and do some things and be successful in this business. Right. But also we're giving the athletes a chance to can, capture their moments that they'll have forever, via video, via an interview, whatever may be the case. I mean, when we were back in school, I mean, we didn't have that.
No.
It was real. It was
Right.
real stuff,
Right.
It was, if your dad had a camera out there, maybe he caught it,
Right.
It's,
Well, and people still read the newspaper back then.
Yes,
so that's a whole
absolutely.
different thing. You do things on Friday nights, Saturday morning. Everybody looking at the paper to see what you did.
And you and I, we grew up on ink.
Right.
That was our staple. Was Saturday and Sunday morning was
Right.
picking up that newspaper, man,
see
and
who
reading
did
the
what.
stats and see who they did. And,
Yeah.
that was, I mean, when that started kind of going away, I felt like part of my, my childhood was going away a little
Absolutely.
bit there too.
Yeah.
'Cause I can remember trying to get that box score of that Trinity Bell game at the end of the year to see who was going to the playoffs in the early '80s.
Right.
That was the only way I could find that out was through the Dallas Morning News, or
Right.
the Dallas Star Telegram. I mean, I'm doing the Dallas Herald. I mean, it was so. In this business here, though, when we started the company, the thing I've really we've been able to kind of branch. Now I've been able to accept a job there with NBC on the Inside High School Sports Show
Absolutely.
there on they'll be airing on Sunday mornings at 10 o'clock. I'll be doing a weekly segment on the best athletes in the DFW airport market.
Yeah.
And I think that, it gives you, recognition, but it also gives you publicity out
Right.
there. People will see that. So they'll, I think you and I were talking about walking into some doors. You don't
Yeah.
have to explain your whole self
Right.
again. They say, "Oh yeah, I know who you are. Yeah, come on in here."
Come on in.
And it also helps with coaches. They'll say, "Well, he's got credibility. He's been in the business for a while. He knows that." Like you and I, they know that we're going to do good by their athletes.
Absolutely.
We're not going to go run their athletes down. We're
Right.
not one of those clickbait people
No
that are
doubt.
talking about.
There's some
trying
substance to it.
Yes, there
Right.
is, and I think that the more confident that the coaches and their staffs are with us, I think that's when we do our best work.
Absolutely.
I really
Right.
do. And
Right.
so it's just another avenue to try to get out there and promote. We're blessed. I know you cover the Houston market, but between the Houston and the DFW market, man, I mean,
Right.
we've got tremendous
Right.
talent.
It's always something to talk about.
Yes, and
You
I
know
mean,
what I mean?
think about the magnitude of the athletes just in those two places alone.
Right.
If you could if you just created an ideal situation where you took the top athletes in those areas every year, you're talking about a national championship caliber team every year.
Absolutely.
It's amazing now that it's spreading out to the suburbs now.
Mm-hmm.
You think about North Crawleys and the Prospers and all those other things that are getting these athletes. It's just not in the heart of the Metroplex
Right.
or in Houston anymore.
Right. And I mean, it's really widespread, but there's a dominance, and we're going to get into that as well by North Texas and the DFW area. We're going to discuss that as well. But I think it's just it allows athletes, players, and coaches and schools to get publicity that they won't get from the major networks or the major papers. You know what I'm saying?
Or the athlete that's just an average player
Under the
He
radar.
may have, yes,
Right.
He may have a big play that it
Yeah.
gets captured.
Right.
He may not go to the next level again.
Absolutely.
That might have been his last moment, but he's captured that. Lack of a better term, the shiny moment is captured for him.
Absolutely.
That's what I think is. That to me is just as rewarding as watching Decorium Moore get the game-winning TD.
Absolutely.
Because I mean it's. You love that guy because I was that underdog guy.
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
was that guy that had to bust his tail
Right.
to make it work.
Right.
I just wish I would have had a couple of those things to look back on now.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's kind of hard to find it. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? We didn't have Twitter. We didn't have Instagram. And I don't know how much I could dig through the annuals of HISD stuff to try to find that kind of stuff. Used to have it on video, but I got some things still at my parents' house, but
Sure.
in a box. But it's kind of hard to find those things. But kids and players and parents live for those particular moments,
Absolutely.
and I think Friday Night Glory is the perfect
Absolutely.
platform for that. And like you said, it's been a springboard for myself. Matt Davidson, you spoke about Nick Harris and all of those guys that have come through there, the Peyton Petersons and things like that. It's been a springboard.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
each one of those guys, Greg Hammer,
Parker.
Parker,
Yes.
you know what I mean? It's a springboard to launch those guys. If you're really serious about getting into this side of the, the business part of it, and the media, Friday Night Glory is like the springboard. It got me to where I'm at now.
Well, and I put all the credit in Randy and allowing
Shout out to
latitude. Randy Edwards, the
Absolutely.
founder and owner of it.
Absolutely.
He gave latitude. He gave me latitude once I, earned some respect amongst him, to pick and choose, where I wanted to be, where I wanted to go. It was never you got to go here, you got to go there.
Right.
And then also he was for him to give me the responsibility to try to train those guys a little bit.
Absolutely.
Get them in front of the camera. The thing about Friday Night Glory, it gives you experience.
Right.
Everybody's got that deer in a headlight look the first time you're going to put that mic in front of somebody.
Right.
It takes some getting used to do that. You know what I mean? And it also gave a lot of guys experience and just editing.
Right.
Those kind of things, which, you've taken that to, another level now.
Absolutely.
With graphics and everything.
Right.
That's a little over my pay grade.
Well, I got a little help behind the scenes. You know how that
that's
goes.
That's a younger man's generation.
You have to have patience for it. And I can't say that I have it in every time I sit down. But, it's a thing where you learn on the job.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And
Absolutely.
I don't think that, shout out to Randy, for bringing us in. And, anytime
absolutely.
he calls, you call, I still answer and pick up. And, we still work together in certain forms of fashion.
Absolutely.
So that's always going to be home. I wouldn't be sitting where I am right now in this chair talking to you without Friday Night Glory.
And I think that's one of the things people have been asking me. They said, well, you're going to be doing this on NBC. What are you going to be doing with, Friday Night Glory.com? Friday Night Glory.com is home.
Right.
Like you said, that never goes away.
Never goes
it doesn't
away.
stop me
Absolutely.
from doing those duties at all.
Yeah.
It's just that, we know that the people that come and go, they're still part of the family. We can go to a 7-on-7 and help each other because we're not in competition.
Never.
That's the I think that's the other thing with Friday Night Glory. People don't they say, "Are you a recruiting service?" No, we're not a recruiting service.
Right.
Are you one of those guys that can help us get into introductions to the college coaches? And no, we don't do that.
Right.
This is purely about high school sports. Period.
Right.
We'll go to some signing days. Absolutely. Will we cover those? Yes. We're happy. But we're not here to promote you going to the next level. That's not our deal.
Right.
We're capturing the moment that's in hand, the present tense.
Right.
And that's what I think is key for us because we get a new venue every Thursday, Friday, or Saturday.
Right. But I think it's a neat way for exposure.
Yes.
You
absolutely.
know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And the right way. You know what I'm saying?
It's part of the repertoire.
Right.
It's part of your portfolio that you put in.
Yeah.
When a college guy comes to you and says, hey, blah, 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 you can say, hey, I've done interviews already. I'm not, a deer in a headlight at the next level. Because you don't want those to be your first interviews.
Right.
Now, I will say this. The kids, when we first got in the business, they were nervous. These kids are getting cameras nonstop.
Right. Well, I think but Friday Night Glory was the network that ushered that in. I don't think anybody was doing interviews, sideline interviews before, you guys started in, me, Matt, and, Peyton and all those guys came along.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I think, you guys were at the forefront of high school media. Now it's going on around the country.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And it's a big thing that you guys kicked off. And, it's a great way for, on the spot, after the game, emotions and things like that. 14 years worth of Texas high school football, and you can go and Google it. And I do this sometimes now. You know what I'm saying? Especially when guys get drafted or whatever that we've covered, or you see some of the coaches go on to the next level as well. You can always go back and click in FridayNightGlory.com, and you'll see these guys come up.
It's
funny.
What I'm saying?
It's super funny.
It is funny. I look at there and I go, man, my face was so thin. But it's funny how you evolve also as an interviewer. I mean, those
Absolutely.
first few interviews, man, I'm sitting here just going cringing when I'm going, man, you were nervous.
Right.
Right. We were, we're nowhere where you're at now, but then, you look at it, it's a blessing because experience gets you better.
Right.
The more you're in front of the camera, the more at ease that you are, the kind of the questions asked. And what I've learned more now, almost my questions I ask these athletes now, I answer for them in the question.
Right.
I don't want to put the athlete in a situation where he looks bad.
Right.
And I tell athletes, we can stop the interview if
Absolutely.
you mess up and we can do this again because this is what you want them. If he breaks a leg and never plays again, you want him to have these moments as clear and as fine as they can possibly be. And I think that that's one of the things that I really drives me. It's like, make this clean. Make this right for them. That way when your mom and dad says, hey, you know this. There's no better feeling than having an athlete from 10 or 11 years ago, their parents come with you. Do you remember interviewing my daughter at this softball game? Now she's a mother of two, whatever she is, man. It's nostalgic. It makes it gives me the warm fuzzy, for a lack of a better word. And that's kind of the driving force to keep doing this, because you and I both know there's a lot of time spent in this.
A lot of time.
And sometimes you need to get rubbed on the shoulders a little bit, says, hey, you've done a good job, because more often than not, it's the negative cases that wear on you. And they're far and few. But those are the ones that linger, not the ones that are good. And I want to try to reverse that a little bit.
For sure.
Embrace the positivity and not ignore. Listen to the negativity, try to learn from it, but don't dwell on it.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's the thing that, FridayNightGlory.com has done for over, countless seasons, is the purity of it, and then just making sure that it's always a positive outcome to an interview. Because, things happen all of the time, and we see things with social media come out the wrong way, but it's never been that way. And I believe that's the reason that you guys have, been at the forefront of high school media, not just here in Texas, but around the country. Sure. You guys set the standard, and I was able to contribute to that. And, that's the reason. That's the reason that I've been able to get, build and get into what I'm doing, is because everybody always remembers the FridayNightGlory.com. You know what I'm saying? So,
well, when you do good work, people are going to remember that. And when you hustle, I think that a lot of people, a lot of interns will ask me, what is it about the business that makes you successful? And I tell them all the time, you could be passionate about the game, you could love the game, you could be a great interviewer, but I said, you have to put in the due diligence and the hard work where no camera is on you and nobody's telling you what you need to do.
Absolutely.
That's what I said. If you can wake up and put those hours in then on a day-to-day basis, I said, that's what's going to make you different than that guy that's sitting on the sidelines just taking the film and the shots 3 times a week. He could pick up a paper, or he could pick up, Twitter and find out where the game is. But with your knowledge prior to going into the game about certain people or storylines about certain people before you get in there, that gives you the ability to make those good questions in the interview, because you know something about them, not just the the moment deal. Now, the average person, yes. Tight end that comes in, he's a second-string tight end, and he scores the winning TD. Yeah, you're not going to have background probably on that guy. I get that part of it. But for the most part, you can get background on these guys here before, and then that way when you do get up there, that person feels at ease, the athlete, because you know them a little bit. You did your homework.
Absolutely.
You're not asking, what's your name, and what grade are you in, and all that kind of stuff. That's when you lose credibility, I think, there on top of things.
Absolutely.
But yes, it's been a blessing, and like I said, having people like you that come through there, I mean, that only brought more recognition to us, because we were able to spread out in the DFW airport, Metroplex. I mean, and I remember it was just 2 of us. We were just doing Carrollton games. We were just doing Carrollton Creekview and Newman Smith for the first couple years, and then we branch out and do a Keller Central game with Sanchez was was playing for them. They played Newman Smith, but it was on the road. We tried to do a USFL type in-game interview with a player and got yelled at. On a hot, buggy Friday night.
But look at what they're doing now, though. They're doing it.
They're doing it.
Right after the TD.
They're doing it now. The USFL, I mean, they're doing it, But I can remember it was year 2 and getting yelled at by the head coach, my dear best friend, Paul Ressa, who's at Coastal Carolina now. Hey, he's got to get on the kickoff team, Matthews. He had a 78-yard TD. But it just kept evolving. And I think that once that kind of evolved, it got me passionate about it. And once I got passionate, listen, this is what I wanted to do. I went to college. I went into financial business. When I was in college. I always my goal was to be the next Bryant Gumbel. That's what I wanted to do in the 70s. And I went, and 30 years later,
Right.
You know, I was able to get back into that, dude.
Right.
And now that I'm here, there's no way in hell I want to let it go.
No doubt.
You know,
No doubt.
you know,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I know that there's somebody better and younger, more technically savvy than I am. I
Right.
have to keep working my tail off to make sure that person doesn't catch me.
Absolutely.
And take that away from me.
Absolutely.
You and I both know, man, they're graduating people left and right
Right.
that are just as good, if not better.
Right.
You know, so
Right.
what separates me from that person is getting after it.
Right.
Seeing my butt on the sidelines, or seeing me in the gyms, or
Right.
seeing me at the softball, the baseball fields.
Right.
That's what it separates me from most. You know,
Right.
people say, "Well, do you work for a newspaper?" No, I don't work for a newspaper.
Right.
Do you work for a TV station? No, I don't. Well, until
Right.
a couple weeks ago.
Right.
You know, but it's just you have to have that division.
Right.
What separates you from the other guy?
Absolutely.
And I think that when we talked a little off camera, your designations separate you from anybody else that I know. Anybody.
Yeah,
Like I said,
yeah.
you are a book. You
Yeah.
don't have a business card. You give a book and say, these are my titles. But that's what separated you from anybody on 7-on-7. You're
Yeah.
different.
Right.
You're different than that.
Right.
You know, though, I won't get into the details of all
Right.
that, but
Yeah.
you are a different breed. Adam, what he does, he's a different breed in the 7-on-7.
Yeah.
That's why you guys are linchpins in that now.
Right.
You're knee deep.
Right.
If anybody asks you about a 7-on-7 question, they're going to try to go to you or Adam.
Right.
I mean, if
Yeah.
I have a question, I'm not going to go try to hunt. Send Mark Henry a text and he'll
Yeah,
tell me. Or
absolutely.
he'll say, hey, this is a tournament. Can you
Yeah.
come? Whatever.
Absolutely.
I know what the big tournaments are because you're going to tell me.
Right.
So, I mean, that's what I like most is that you see the people that kind of branched off into this.
Right.
And now they're in high-level spots.
Right.
You know, I mean, we got a live tour guy.
Right.
That's 23?
Right.
That's
For sure.
crazy to me,
Yeah,
dude, to
yeah.
think about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that you have to have a passion for, and you know, I live for this. It's something that going back to a newspaper. That's how I learned how to read. Was busting up my dad's sports section. I didn't go to any other section, and I'm busting up the sports section. You know what I'm saying? But that's how I learned how to read, was to get into that. Reading the sports section. You know what I'm saying? And
Absolutely.
that's how I came into this. This was something I've been passionate about for a long time. But for me, it's all about the kids. It's about the athlete. To see them shine, to give kids exposure in any way, whether it's talking to them on a microphone, writing something, or just pulling up. I can show you countless of DMs of messages, and I'm sure you get them too. Hey, Mr. Matthews or Kenny, blah blah blah, this and that. It's just about being a vessel for those guys.
Absolutely.
Know what I'm saying? And,
Absolutely.
sometimes they just need a sounding board, or they ask questions, and if I don't know the answer, I point them in the right direction. And it's just the purity of it.
I think that also it's maybe you or I had belief in their kid, and the parent had belief in the kid, but
Right.
maybe not everybody else did.
Absolutely.
That's
absolutely.
the ones that I really
Right.
like.
Yeah.
You had faith in my child when he was in the 10th grade.
Absolutely.
When he was being overlooked for all district, or he was being overlooked for honorable mention all
Right.
district, whatever. You were the one saying, hey, you need to look at this kid.
Got to.
You got to
Absolutely.
look at this guy. This, that
Yeah. Yeah.
he could play.
Absolutely.
And you guys are sleeping on this prospect.
Absolutely.
I think you were one of the first ones that kind of told me about, I could go to this, Jimerson.
Right.
You brought him up to me before I knew about him.
Right.
You're like, this kid can play.
Yeah.
A little undersized,
Right.
but he can play.
Absolutely.
Man, started going out and seeing North Crowley games. So,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, he difference maker.
Absolutely. Oh, big time.
Yeah, he
Big
difference
time.
maker.
Big
I was like,
time.
yeah.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden you see that elevation of him going up the recruiting ranks,
Right.
going up. Then he's a TCU commit. Then then he goes to UNT. Whatever may be the case.
Right.
Those are the kinds of. I remember you saying about Sanchez in North Shore. Thank
Yeah.
you. You told me about him as a freshman.
Yeah.
You said this kid can go.
Yeah.
This kid go. We saw him
Right.
every year
Right.
at Jerry World.
Absolutely.
All of a sudden, this guy is the best cornerback in the country.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I mean, those are the kind of things that I like, our relationship about. Because
Right.
you could talk about this certain person, and then boom, you feel good when, wow, okay,
Yeah.
the eyeball test met.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's got to admit, but you got to have your feet in the mud with it. Somebody was asking me, when you go to the games, where you gonna see me on the sideline. The only way you see me in the press box is if it's raining or snowing.
Right, Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
You don't see me in the press
yeah,
box.
you don't
either.
see me
No.
in the press box at all. You know,
No.
I want to hear
Rain.
every single four-letter word. I want to smell the pads. It's a thing that you have to be entrenched in.
You got to get a feel of the game.
Got to get a feel. That's why we show up early.
Can't get a feel of the game in the press box.
Right.
I mean, I don't care how many amenities are up there or whatever it is. You got to hear the coaching staff getting on each other.
Right.
Or of them instructing people.
Right.
Why were you not here?
Right.
Why were you not there? Why was this play not made? Or this is the reason why this play was made because of your block.
Right.
Or your read here. I mean, the passion of that the average person does not get.
Right.
I'm telling you, when I go to OU, I'm a season ticket for OU. When I go to their games, I feel trapped in my seat. I do. I feel trapped in my seat. I'm like, I'm supposed to be
there.
Not here. I'm supposed to be. That's the best seat in the house
to
for me.
Yeah.
Even if I'm in the corner end zone and it goes 99 yards
the other way. Right.
It doesn't matter.
Right.
So, yes, I do. I agree with you. I think that you and I both are definitely sideline
guys. I have to be in the mix in the action, man, and that's, those are the type of things that I enjoy, and, I'm super excited for this season, man. Of course, for Kenny Matthews, FridayNightGlory.com here on the On Your Mark show today, but let's dive into it. So the big thing I think that that you probably know, and, we see these conversations and things all the time, the usual suspects are back.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And we're talking about 6A right now. The usual suspects are back. I've seen or heard these just particular questions is, why do we have to keep seeing the same teams? You got to beat the big dog to beat a big dog. And until you beat them, until you knock them off, you're going to see them there. And I think you're going to have those usual suspects. It's going to be a collision course. You asked me at the beginning, do I think, and shout out to Gossett, he'll ask you, do you think it's going to be a Duncanville North Shore rematch? And I go, yeah. They have the two best teams. They have the best players. The coaching staffs have been there for the most part. I think that people don't realize the continuity within the coaching staff matters in a program.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
You don't see these guys lose too many coaches in certain places. The way you build a program is from the ground up, from within, by keeping the same thing the same thing. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and don't you think this, Mark? And I tell people don't understand this. If those, let's say, three, places,
right.
Soto, Duncanville, and North Shore.
Right.
The ability to coach the kids hard.
Right.
They don't schools that, in the suburbs or wherever it may be.
Right.
Parents get involved too much. Well, they don't. Why Longview is a perennial team.
Power.
Talent, full.
Yeah.
Somebody right behind them is going to take that spot.
Right.
And I said the ability for those three schools to create a competition.
I think you hit on another good point, the off-season.
Yes.
If you've never been to these places in the off-season, you know
absolutely.
What I'm saying? The DeSotos, the Duncanvilles, the North Shores, and now you got to give him his own stick. Well, they're coming to the party now.
Well, and I think that you put North Crowley and Geyer, I think, are kind of in that. It is, it's just getting there, but it's trying. It's IKD instead of it being ruled out of bounds. Maybe that's the year that Tyler Rose beats the Steelers.
Right.
But Friday getting canceled, trying to ratchet it all back up Saturday morning.
Yeah.
There's some dynamics there to not able to get over that hump now.
Right.
Which makes this year's game even more.
And the football guys aligned themselves up and they broke through and did it. You know what I'm saying? But, shout out to Coach Mathis and Coach Swing staff. We talk about operating within the system and operating on the sideline.
In the games, we give them
just
hugs.
like they played.
Yes, you thought that they went out there and went both.
Absolutely.
ways.
Yeah.
And I go, that's putting your heart, your soul, and every fiber of you into trying to get the best out of your team.
Right.
And accountability. And
Absolutely.
that's huge.
Right.
You know, I don't want to see an assistant coach over there taking it easy.
Nah.
You know, you don't ever want to. I don't care if it's the kicking coach.
Right.
And all he did was do kickoffs.
Right.
I want him vested.
Right.
At all times. And you said it right on. The three, and I put Suffolk Cliff in that in the same deal with there too.
Yeah, we're going to get to that.
Yeah. I said I'll put them all in it because when we see them at Jerry's World, man, it's unbelievable to see the craft that they do.
Well, I think that, you know, that's something that people, you know, the average fan or person doesn't get to see that we do get to see. And, you know, that's what I kind of love about it as well. I think you can throw Southlake in there with Riley Dodge as well. Yeah. You know, a big machine as far as the coaching staffs. But I think the thing about these coaches,
he gets a lot of turnover though on his staff. You know,
Yeah,
that was why I was kind. That's why I didn't really initially put him in that because they cherry picked.
The head
hadn't
the
changed,
head
stayed there.
Yeah.
Yes,
So the philosophy doesn't change.
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
You know, I would put Jeff Rayburn in that situation at Lone Star, but he has a lot of. It seemed like every year his coordinators are getting plucked away to go.
Right.
So I know you were talking about staffs that
but that's
stay
also
together.
the key to success. Too.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And it's a number of schools that you can put, you know, count on your hand that have this particular, you know, we haven't even got to Alito, Ryan, you know, Coach Hennigan's been there entrenched for years.
Yes,
and I think that, you know, families and players, they want to go play for that type of mystique, for that type of staff that has it all together.
And if you're Jeff Rayburn, if you're getting your defensive and offensive coordinator getting plucked away for head coaching jobs, that means you're making great hires.
Right, absolutely.
You've got a keen sense of what you want, and it's a budding head coach that's coming up in the making.
Right.
You know, that's huge.
Right. Well, let's move on from 6A a little bit, but you know, those are some of the teams that we're looking at. You know, DeSoto, Duncanville, of course, North Shore is going to be there. I think Austin Westlake's going to be there at the end as well.
We're going to get to see them against Prosper.
Absolutely.
We're going to see them on that Thursday.
They're playing here because the game was there last year.
Yeah.
I think that's an interesting matchup.
Yes, I think it's going to be really interesting considering the fact that Prosper may have one of the best offensive lines in the state of Texas, at least recruitable Power 5 offensive linemen.
At all 5 positions.
Yes. I mean, I heard from a recruiting guy that they have 11 recruitable offensive linemen.
Yeah.
I mean, that's unheard
Young
of.
guys.
Yeah.
They're not seniors yet.
Talk about
you know
the Connor Carter. You talk about the Kampanen. You know,
yeah.
I mean, you're talking about a depth of riches.
Right.
So, who's the quarterback there?
Right, that's what I was going to say. The skill position. This is the first time that you hadn't, you know, you got to look and say, well, who's Prosper going to give the ball to? Usually they've had, a quarterback, for the last 4 years. A couple years ago, he was a baseball player.
Yeah. Oh, gosh.
I can't think of his name. This is my guy.
Yeah.
But he was a 4-year starter there.
Oh, well, Kozar.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. You just got to look at those guys and think that they got something brewing over there.
Absolutely.
And Prosper's always that team that's, making a deep run. But listen, I'll tell you, the quarterback for Austin Westlake, Reese Weiss, is a guy you want to see. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? I might have to tip over there.
Okay.
What week is that
That's
game?
Thursday.
Is it the first week?
Yes, first week at Prosper.
Well, you know where I'm going. You already know where my destination is. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I've already made reservations for the 30th. So
I figured that was a bona fide top 15 game in the
absolutely
in the stage,
on a Thursday.
On a Thursday night. That's
okay.
That's
and
huge.
It's going to be up in Prosper.
In Prosper, yeah.
Okay.
Marriott, Baylor, Hardin.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to that. I've got to. And you giving me a name there for Prosper. You need to look at the strong safety, free safety, Tyson King. He's just a junior.
Okay.
He's really, I think his best position though is when he has the ball in his hands.
Right.
But he's a guy that's really blossomed. He's gotten healthy. He started the last, from about week 5 or week 6 last year as a true sophomore and cornerback.
Okay.
Tough go against North Crowley a little bit on a couple plays, but that's no shame in losing with North Crowley that late.
No, but I mean you gotta look at before we move to 5AD1, I think that North Crowley proved in the trenches because we were at that game. Woo. And you kind of thought going into that game we want to see where it's going to balance out that. But that's when I knew that North Carolina could play with the big boys because, coming to the game, you would think that offensive line up front of Prosper would control it. But listen, man, shout out to Coach Gates and those guys. They're really building it 26-2 in 2 years.
Phenomenal
Yeah.
job. And don't forget what Coach Lynn did last year.
Absolutely. Listen, if you hadn't heard of my guy Ontavious Ellis, the wide receiver in class 2027, one of the top in the country. This guy can play.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And Caleb Williams is coming back under center. Crowder's going to make some noise. Brandon Ford, 2026 corner over there, has got about 20 offers. You know what I'm saying? So they're loaded between those two schools.
It's night and day from 5 years ago.
Absolutely.
It just really is. It seemed like this whole summer, Gates is putting out new offers for this player, and it's different players.
Absolutely.
It wasn't just the same player. And I started going, man, when you start building rosters like that,
right,
you just need the football guys on health,
right,
and sometimes just a break.
Yeah.
Here or there.
Absolutely.
And that gets you in Jerry's world, and he is knocking on that door.
I think they're going to be, one of the 4 teams at the end. You never know. You know what I'm saying?
Costa Cedar down in Houston.
Yeah.
Another one that,
Absolutely.
they keep getting close.
If they don't run into North Shore and Katy, I think they have, at least 1 or 2 state titles. But it's hard to come out of those areas. It's hard to get out of DFW. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So
Division I.
Yeah. When you get on the field with these teams, you look at the teams and the coaching staffs, and it's just the rich are getting richer. But you have to have that stability. You have to have that ingrained. You know what I'm saying? But let's look at 5A D1. Really, it's Alito at the top. Racine Guillory Jr. is one of the best in the country. He's coming back. He's only a junior. Seems like he's been there for years. But this is a guy that's one of the best running backs in the country that's going to come back and stabilize. Of course, they're going to be stout up front as usual. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You have Caden Finley, 2026, one of the best receivers in the country. They're loaded again.
And it's just, is the quarterback going to be above average?
He's good.
Yeah.
I think he's going to.
If he's just above average,
no,
they're knocking on the door again at Jerry's.
You're going to hear his name in the first 3 games. Of course, they got Guy right out the gate.
Yeah. And I want to go back a little bit, not to include 6A here, though. Last year when Alito, when we're down in Jerry's world for state, when North Shore walks by, you say, wow.
Right.
When Duncanville walks by, you say, wow.
Right.
When DeSoto walked by, you said, wow. They
right.
look like a college team. When first time last year, I watched Alito. I was down on the curb talking to Coach Buck. Mm-hmm. They walked by me and the JV, and I said, that's North Shore level.
Yeah.
That's Duncanville level.
Right.
And that was the first time that I noticed that they had multiple bodies that way.
Right.
And I started saying, okay.
Right.
If we want to play smash mouth football,
right,
we could play smash mouth football.
Well, that's been their identity for years.
Yeah.
House Haney was just the aberration. Of course, you can go all the way back, to the Jonathan Gray era. But House Haney was a great player. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Underrated.
Underrated. And I think, shout out to my guy. Shout out to my guy, Hawk Patrick Daniels, as well, with the MVP performance. I think it's always been a guy that stepped up at Alito when the time is right.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? But
didn't they kind of look like you're Denton Ryan?
Well, I'm getting to Ryan now. That's the next team. Ty Haywood, one of the best, in the country. Alabama commit. Listen, they got some pieces over there. Quiet as kept.
Garcia.
Going
A&M.
Absolutely.
That's the Denton Ryan teams that were going, to state and to the, getting in state semis.
Yeah.
They had trench warfare guys.
Right.
Besides those 5-star athletes they had at the skill position, it was those guys up front moving people off the line of scrimmage. And
right.
This is a year that I think Ryan is going to knock them. They're going to put some knots on some people's head, and they can make a run.
I think they are, too. A couple of more teams to look out for. You mentioned Frisco, Lone Star. But how about Richland, not too far from here? Michael Turner. There's a running back over there, Jay-Sean Gibson, that you need to know about. He's coming along as well. He's going to be a guy that you're going to know about. He's in the class 2027 over there at Richland.
It's nice to see Richland back. It really is. I think it's a better world when that Haltom, Richland, that
Yeah,
area is
yeah.
competitive.
Yeah.
Birdville.
Absolutely.
I think that's an underrated little verb, around
Well,
there.
they went through a real good time. Of course, we covered a lot of Rasheed Rice and all of those guys over there when they were at Richland, and that was kind of the pinnacle of
Yes.
it.
They lost out in Lubbock, right? In the snow game.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, those
Mm-hmm.
teams were great then, but I think they've circled around. I went and watched them when they lost to Forney over in the playoffs. Javion Osborne's a great running back over there as well.
Yes.
And listen, shout out to Coach Shavers at North Forney. It's so much you could talk about. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I think that North Forney, quiet as kept, is going to be a team. So is Forney.
Yes,
in 6A.
The wide receiver at he's good. I can't pronounce
Absolutely.
his last name.
Absolutely.
But I got to talk to Jamie Osborne a lot last year. Just
Right.
a junior this year.
Yeah.
I mean, Coach Flinter's done an absolutely good job over there.
Yeah.
Man, he's getting a lot of talent too.
Yeah.
Now, tough to get to their games.
Yeah.
Tough to get to their games.
Yeah, it's tough, but I think with both of those schools in 6A and that town having that rival that's going to be big, it's probably we might have to tip over.
Yeah,
that
we're
one,
gonna have to.
you know what
Yeah,
I'm
we're
saying?
gonna have to go out there. There's no question.
Shout out to my guy Coach Shavers. You know what I'm saying, who's always been great. I really think he's building something over there. But let's get to 5A Division II real quick. Of course, South Oak Cliff's there, Argyle's there, Texarkana High out east. It's really, really there. But let's Colleyville Heritage. You got to look at those guys. Blue at the top receiver over there really can play on both sides of the ball. This is a team that might could sneak up on some people. I think 5A Division II across the state is loaded. When you talk about Port Neches Groves, Richmond, Randall. Listen, if you hadn't seen Callis, this guy's one of the best 2027 running backs in the country. Then you got Melissa, 5A D2 as well. Fort Bend Marshall's always there. Talk about those guys. 'Cause listen, I think that, of course, South Oak Cliff's going to be there.
Sure.
There's no doubt about it. They're going to be there.
No
Quiet as kept. They got a great offensive line coming back. They got veterans around them. The secondary is going to be great. You know what I'm saying? Led by Marcel Gibson.
Yeah.
Yes, listen. They're going to do. They're going to be back. You know what I'm saying? I will be there in H-Town for the first game.
And they're going to be hungry.
They're going to be hungry.
They're going to be hungry after last year.
Absolutely, man. So talk about 5A D2 real quick.
You talk about South Oak Cliff, losing the way they did last year. I know there's a lot of controversy that went in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you got to think about this, and I think people don't understand. South Oak Cliff's offense was off the field for 33 actual minutes.
Right.
Because of the drive and the onside kick.
Right.
Hard to get offensive rhythm after that.
Right.
It really is, especially when you're going in late into the fourth quarter.
Here's the thing for me, and I was standing right there on the sideline. The onside kick changed the momentum of the game. Forget about the interference and all of that kind of stuff. That changed the momentum of the game.
Changed everything.
Right. That was an extra possession.
Extra possession after a long drive where your defense held them, I believe, the 3. I don't think they got 7.
They didn't score that much in the first half. Defense played a phenomenal game.
Absolutely.
Take all of the other stuff out of it. That changed the momentum and gained the extra possession when you talk about the amount of possession, because these teams are mirror images of each other. When they come into the trenches, they want to pound and ground and pound you. Both teams.
Hey, and you're going up against a Coach Joseph.
Absolutely. you know that pedigree. It's I formation all the way.
You better bring your A game.
And they did. And I think that changed the momentum. And, I see these guys, in a collision course to come back. Both teams are going to be there when it comes to who's going to state out of 5A D2.
Well, in Argyle, you talk about Argyle. We saw them a couple times last year, and I remember talking to Coach Rogers last year, and he said, "We're young.
Right.
We're going to be really good the next couple years."
They are.
Yes, kind of like what Pleasant Grove was 3 years ago. When I saw Coach Gibson, he says, "Hey, our best years are going to be in the next 2 years coming up
for sure."
So you got to look out for Argyle, because I think that they're waiting just to get back to prominence again. I think they're right on that cutting edge.
Well, they got a young gunslinger, McGuire Gassman, over there. Super athletic, but he's going to get the full-time job at that quarterback position. I think it's going to open it up for those guys. Always solid in the trenches is Argyle. You know what I'm saying?
You think about Melissa. They took some hits on defense, losing Nigel Smith. They lost their quarterback and their wide receiver from last year. But are we ever doubting Coach Nolly?
No.
You're not.
Right.
I mean, that's – Now that you have the new stadium aura over, I think you could just concentrate on football
That was
now.
the whole lights. And,
Yes.
you know,
I mean,
introducing that.
we talked about Nigel Smith.
Right.
You know, I thought that was too much of the focus of the Cardinals
Right.
last year. I think
Right.
that was maybe one of the reasons why they bowed out a little bit earlier than I anticipated.
Right.
But I mean, you bring up Colleyville Heritage. I think it's one of the most underrated programs that nobody talks about.
They're always 4-3 rounds deep every year.
It seems like every year they are.
And well, I think it's the kind of nestled in between the Trinities and South Lakes in this particular
absolutely.
area.
Keller,
Keller,
you know,
they get overlooked a little bit.
Yes.
Maybe don't make all of the headlines, but at the end of the day, they're right there.
They're like Frisco High School in Frisco.
Absolutely.
They've
The
been around
Raccoons.
too long.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
we want the new lights and the new this and new that and all this. And all Heritage does is, like you say, go 4 rounds deep.
Absolutely.
You know, they're always a tough out. I mean, I
Absolutely.
think that, you know, I think about Lovejoy. You know,
Yep.
we've got the story there with Coach Dodge
Right.
coming back from Westlake.
Right.
You know, I mean, they've got to replace some big guys on defense.
Right.
But, you know, you got Dalen McCutcheon.
I was about to say they got a safety
you know,
blanket in that.
I
You know,
mean,
one of the best receivers in the country.
You got Red Oak.
Right.
You know, we hadn't talked about him with Taz. You know, Taz.
Kane
of course.
Richardson,
Yes.
quarterback's going to stabilize that.
They have 4 monsters on offense. Now they're a
Absolutely.
little young.
Right.
They're a little young, but they got 4 monsters on offense. And Taz, we already know how good
Right.
he's going to be.
Absolutely.
And he doesn't have to carry the load.
Braden Robinson as well.
You know, I think that it's really balanced. You know,
And don't sleep, you know, before we get out here, we run out of time. Lancaster and Coach Paul. I think that quiet is kept as well. I was over there, you know, at Braylon McDonald's commitment, and, you know, they're going to be there. Waxahachie as well.
we were counting Lancaster out halfway through the season last year. What, 1-4?
Yeah.
And they
But
go third, what, 3 rounds or 4 rounds? Yeah, 4 rounds.
But you didn't want to see them in the playoffs.
No. With Lacey running the football there last year, I mean.
Oh, yeah.
But they're at a district that just, man, is unforgiving.
But you know, talking to Coach Paul, I can see that there's some confidence there, and there's some things there. You got the Nevada commit and Carter Jones, who's going to be settled in at quarterback.
Mesquite Horns, another team that
Absolutely
got some players there. I mean, I
Right.
know they got some players got poached
Right.
from what I hear
Absolutely.
as of late.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
anytime you can line up Lamont Rogers as your starting right tackle,
And you got Ford as one of the best
forward
safeties in the
safety
country.
I mean, you know, and you got the quarterback. I forgot his name.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you're talking about 2 teams in that district that are playoff teams that will be home after week 11. Because they
You ain't
didn't make
lying,
it.
man. You ain't
It's
lying.
just that district is absolutely
You ain't lying, man.
loaded.
Well, listen, man, my guy Kenny Matthews from FridayNightGlory.com here, man. You know, this is one of my guys. This is family again. You know, I appreciate you coming through. In a couple of Sundays, man, we got the first annual On the Mark Sports Media Day, August the 25th. Shout out to my guys, Coach Ryan and Coach Mook over at Elite University. They're going to host us. Friday Night Glory will be in the house as well. You know, I'll let you know if you look on the next couple of days. You know, some of the lineup, coaches, players. You know, this is an invite-only thing, so we'll have some of the top players and coaches around the area that you'll see coming out to Media Day. You know, we've always done Media Day or hosted other people's Media Day. It was time we branched out and did our own thing. You know what I'm saying? So this will be the first annual Media Day, August the 25th, over at Elite University in Lancaster, Texas, and it's a big thing. It's needed, you know what I'm saying? And we're going to have some of the best in the house. Of course, Kenny will be in the house.
Yes,
we're going to have, towards the end, we'll have a round table of some of the top media. Shout out to the Dove as well. They'll be in the house. You know, we're going to have some guys in there to talk about this more and more, because that's what it's all about. You know what I'm saying? It's getting ready for the season, man. But, you know, again, appreciate Kenny for coming through, man. I'm taking some time out of it. You'll see this guy on the sideline, man. You know what I'm saying? Tell them where they can find you guys out on social media.
Oh, absolutely. You can catch me on Instagram at Kenny Matthews with 2 T's, the number 1. You can catch me on Twitter at Kenny Matthews, all lowercase, doesn't matter there. Obviously, you can catch me on FridayNightGlory.com, our Twitter feed. It's
Absolutely.
straight out FridayNightGlory.com. But I like to go old school. You can just call me.
Absolutely.
214-704-0524. You can call or text.
Yeah.
I'll get right back with
Absolutely.
you. You know, I'm an old school guy.
Yeah, he kind of went Mike Jones on you right there. You know what I'm saying? But listen, man, it's been another great show. We'll be back next week to talk some more football, of course, around the state of Texas. It's about that, man. Shout out to everybody that's started this year. the week of school this week as well, man. The On Your Mark Show, powered and sponsored by Epic Sports Apparel. And shout out to the Johnson family and my guy, Coach Johnson, man. Had a tragic loss in his family. Man, send your prayers. And, you know, he's really having a tough time, and that's my guy and that's family. I've been talking to him, you know, since this happened the last couple of weeks, and, you know, he'll be back in a couple of weeks. But, you know, send your condolences from myself and Kenny, you know, to the Johnson family on their loss. But listen, we're here for you every week to educate and elevate you right here on Your Mark Show, powered and sponsored by Epic Sports Apparel. We'll talk to you next week.
Man, it's good stuff.
Hey, this Manna Mike. I'm not sure what you own, but this here is on the mark. Like a spiral from a 5-star recruit, we throwing darts, really focused. WD-40 couldn't stop the way we grind it. In the trenches, putting that work in, I relate to all my linemen. This is for the men, the boys do not belong here. Tiptoeing to the top, we doing cone drills. The hottest show in the world, you don't even gotta search. Steady putting in work, you see the sweat up on my shirt. They wasn't aware of us at first, we wasn't on their radar. Now every play that we make, they gon' say, similar to a razor blade, we gon' stay sharp. The news ain't official if it's not on the mark.